through the morning papers now. With us to review them are the anthropologist Mary-Anne Hotter and the broadcaster Pete Price. A very good morning to both of you. Good to see you both, and your fishes as well, Pete. Nice to say hello to them too. Plenty around this morning, isn't there? The one story that's featuring in an awful lot of newspapers and on a few of the front pages, Pete, is the verdict in the case of Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney, and not good news for Rebecca Vardy. You've picked up the Mirror's take on this.
I did indeed, and can I say good morning to two lovely ladies? Thank you for letting me be with you.
And a very good morning to you too.
I'm delighted to say that Colleen is a friend of mine, and Wayne. It's been a horrendous time. What saddens me about it is Colleen didn't want any of this. She handed out many times to speak to Vardy about it, to say, let's not go to court, let's not go through this. It started actually in 2017, and she's a very private lady, Colleen. I've watched her grow as a radio presenter for 50 years with a late night phone-in. I've watched her grow, and from a little girl who was taken over by the press, she's incredibly private. Her and Wayne, with their family in particular, and she really had a bad time over this, and it's been the biggest relief. But up here, it's been completely and utterly supportive towards Colleen. I think Miss Vardy has done herself no favours at all. And as I say, Colleen stretched out and said, let's not go to court. I mean, the amount of waste is obscene. The cost of this case, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens after this. But I know Colleen and her family have gone to hell and back over this, and I think Wayne's been incredibly supportive of her, and I think the right verdict has come out without any shadow of a doubt.
Well, yes, and as you say, £3 million the cost, according to the Mirror here. It's a huge amount of money, isn't it, Mary-Anne? And obviously it's the questions remain over what this will do to Rebecca Vardy's reputation, but what lessons can be learned more broadly from this? I mean, a lot of people might have thought before now the newspapers, the broadcasters are different in terms of what you can say about people. Do you think this case will focus minds and make people think twice about how they use social media?
I think not for the rest of us, let's be honest. Unless you're a wag, it probably won't make that much difference. I think in terms of lessons learned, perhaps all of us can kind of take pause and say, well, hang on a minute, how much do we have a role to play in this? Because we like clicking on those gossipy stories about, someone's mansion being flooded, or someone being done for a drink driving offence, or someone's marriage being on the rocks. I mean, it's a chickeny egg situation, isn't it? Kind of, do the papers print the stuff that we want to read, or do they give us the things that we who's kind of fueling the demand? I think more broadly, one of the questions coming out of this is there's that whole legal setup that encouraged Rebecca Vardy to pursue this claim. He went, yes, of course you've got a case. Yes, you're not going to sound like a liar on the stand. Yes, you can drop your phone in the sea, accidentally delete, evidence as you're emailing it to people. All this kind of nonsense. You kind of think the rational-minded, cold-blooded legal professionals who encouraged her to spend, what is this, like £1.5 million she's going to have to pick up most of the Rooney's defence costs as well. I think they should hang their heads in shame. I mean, while they're buying their super yacht with the proceeds of this whole debacle, I think you kind of think there's a better way to use their talent than peddling this nonsense through courts. Yeah. And I don't know. There's more important news in the world, so yeah.
Well, let's move on to other news. Whether or not you think that the Tory leadership race is important or not, Mary-Anne, I know that you wanted to focus on the I's front page, and the suggestion here that Rishi Sunak is struggling to close the gap on Liz Truss that she appears to have managed to achieve amongst Tory members, if the polls are to be believed, have failed so far.
Yeah, so this is a poll that has been commissioned by the Eye, but it is balanced. There's no kind of political slant. Basically, the numbers for Sunak don't look great. They are neck and neck amongst the wider electorate for who would make the better Prime Minister. Both get 29%, Sunak and Truss. 36% of people don't know. But the crucial thing is the wider electorate doesn't vote for the next Prime Minister. It's the Conservative Party members. And from that constituency, Sunak is 11 points, 11% behind Truss. So it looks like he's got a gap that he can't catch up with at this point. And this is despite the fact that he's done his U-turn on cutting VAT on energy bills, that he's talking tough on the culture wars, all these kind of like little, I don't know, depending on kind of where your politics are, either dog whistles or rethinks in his policy in order to, does he actually think it's good policy, or does he actually just think that, he has to be in the job in order to make the changes he wants to? Some of the other details of the poll are really interesting as well, I think, which is how people perceive Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. Sunak generally appears to be to come across as good in a crisis, in command of detail, effective at his job, more so than Liz Truss, apparently. But Liz Truss has the sense of being more in touch with, quote, the common person, that she's relatable, that she understands those problems, that the average person on the street is facing. Whether that's actually true or not, I don't know. I think the fact that, sometimes the fact that Rishi Sunak sort of always looks very clean and well-dressed and is a millionaire does not stand him in good stead.
Pete, I saw you shaking your head there.
I was shaking my head because the common people out there, which I'm one of them, do not give a damn about this. They're absolutely sick of it. They don't trust politicians anymore. They don't know where they stand with politicians anymore. And it has, he is a millionaire. That stands against him. It's just, nobody, honestly, in the real world gives a damn. Honestly, nobody gives a damn what's going on.
Even though this will be our next Prime Minister, do you not think that people will be concerned about the person that leads the country?
No, because they don't trust politicians anymore. Since Boris and Trump, who's done a great job for America as well as putting people off, they really don't give a damn. They just want to get on with their lives. They're sick to death. I promise you, they are sick to death of it. I bet a lot of people out there now are totally agreeing with me.
Okay, yeah, and go on, Marianne. I'm just going to show a couple of papers just while we have this discussion. The Telegraph is leading with this. Truss plans Thatcherite shake-up of the Treasury's their take on it. And also The Guardian, you talked about Rishi Sunak introducing culture war issues. That's The Guardian's take as well. But do carry on with what you're going to say.
The thing is, Pete, I don't disagree with you. I think people are sick to death, and they say, this is not relevant to my everyday life. I'm, like the lady in the news piece that came just before us, working out how many times a day she can boil the kettle. I mean, that's how serious it is, and she's in work. And that is true, but I think this is the thing, that we need a proper reset, because politics does make a massive difference to our everyday lives, and those politicians are there by our will, by our permission, and they have to work for us. And if we look away and say, they're all as bad as each other, it's all corrupt, they're in it for themselves, which may be true, then we don't hold them to account, and that is the greatest danger. We have to keep our eyes on, because that's the way that they may do a better job for us.
But how do we hold them to account?
I think by engaging with the debate, because we want to assess their policies. We want to say, explain to me why you think that's going to be better for me, for people in my community, for our society as a whole, for business. And if we don't understand what they're going on about, we ask them again. If we think that they're doing corrupt and dodgy dealings, we call it out. We demand that those politicians and those policies and our legal processes actually hold them to account. So when there is wrongdoing, it is called out and those people lose their jobs, because that's how it should be.
So how do we hold them to account?
I mean,
What position
ultimately,
are
I
we
guess
in to hold them to
the
account?
electorate have the vote at the end of the day, don't they? Yeah. I'm going to move us on just very quickly, because another issue that people do care about is lack of water because of lack of rain. Pete, a very quick word on the Daily Mail's front page, and hosepipe ban. One's in place, I think, and there may be more to come.
Yep, you can't wash your cars anymore. You can't fill up your swimming pools and leave your ponds alone. It's a scary headline, but it's summer yet again, and I'm older than you two lovely ladies, and it's been all my life. Hosepipe ban, hosepipe ban, hosepipe ban.
I think it's just southern water at the moment, and I'm not sure if you are that much older than me, to be honest, but anyway, we are out of time, both of you. I'm going to see you again in the next hour. Thanks both very much indeed. Top stories coming up next.